Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly. Along with Cindy, I'm Lyle, and Keith Park is here to join us tonight. We're sitting in here watching a little bit of the races before we went live. We sure hope that Ryan Newman's okay. Hope everybody's lined up for a great show tonight. Keith, how you doing?
Man, doing great, Lyle. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm not as warm as you are down in Texas, but we had a 59-degree day, and for the middle of February in Southwest Missouri, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, it was pretty warm here and a little bit windy, a little chop today.
Yeah, but you was out on the lake taking people fishing.
I was, yeah. We were out there. We had a good day today. It was a tough day to fish. I tried to go to a certain spot, and early morning it was a lot of wind, and had to turn around and readjust a little bit. But we got back out there and got on some fish.
Well, I'm sure that the people that are in chat tonight, along with myself and Cindy, may have some questions for you. But
Sure.
One of the things that I want to know about where you're located this time of the year, now where we're at on warm days like today, a lot of times you can go out and you can find your bait in the back of coves in the lakes and stuff, and usually do pretty good. It's not terribly hard to get. You go out every day guiding. How is the bait situation for you to get day after day after day in this time of the year?
Well, that's a very good question. I sometimes, and I'm not shy about this. Sometimes I'll purchase bait. I do catch baits this time of year. Lately, it's been really small shad. So it just really depends. Under the bridges, and like everywhere else, people catch them by the boat ramps and whatnot. But that's a tough thing to get the real big ones. Some of the guys I know, they go up into the streams or different creeks and whatnot. They catch some of the bigger ones.
Awesome. Now, I'm not familiar with Tawakoni at all.
Sure.
But most of the time, like I say, if we go to Lake Ozark or Truman, I go to the back of the coves where it's fairly shallow, but there's deep water there too. And that's where I get my bait. On the sunny days, it seems like the sunnier and brighter it is, the more shallow I find them. Does it work out like that for you down there?
It can, it can be, again, and I catch a lot of my bait for striper trips. I know we're talking catfish, but, early in the mornings, up close to shore, real close to shore. And, I just put a new live scope on my boat, and I'm pretty excited about looking for the bait with that. Of course, you want to go deeper to catch some of the bigger shad out here. I'm not much up into the coves, real shallow in the middle of the day, catching baits, but and I use different baits too. It's not always just shad.
I'm intrigued by your live scope. I know that's a new type of deal for a lot of people. I'm very familiar with the 360 unit that Humminbird has, and I know Steve Douglas had one of those. Doc was telling me about getting to play with that one that Steve's got. But tell us a little bit about how you like that live scope.
Well, first and foremost, I love Humminbird. I'm a big Humminbird guy, but I got with a gentleman, Tyson, with FTO Electronics or Marine, FTO Marine, and he's very helpful. He helped me with a lot of decision making, and I ended up going with it's a 1242 SXV. I love the unit. I've got it hooked up with the live scope, of course, but it's got the bigger screen. I didn't go with the touch screen. I just went with the manual one for a few reasons, but I love it. I haven't got to use it a whole lot. I've gone under the bridge, caught some crappie. We went out in the middle of the lake, and you could see a lot of the small channels and different catfish that are some of the not huge catfish, but medium-sized one. But I've yet to actually use it in an application for a trophy trip. I usually use my side imaging and kind of pre-look and go through all that and then go back and drift through those areas. But I love it, man. It's game-changing for crappie. I'm going to tell you, just like everybody else does, if you're going to enter a crappie tournament pretty soon, if you don't have one, it's going to be really tough to enter a crappie tournament. But I think they're great. I don't have mine mounted on the trolling motor. I did the pole over the side of the boat thing. Now I might move that up to the front of the boat, depending on the application or the where I'm going to fish. But the hardest part I find with it is keeping your boat stationary. You got to get to a spot, stay stationary, then you can scope in, and it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like a video game. I'm sure everybody's seen the YouTube videos on it, but I love it, man. I do. I'm excited about it. I got out there one day and I was so in tune with it. I forgot for a minute to even look up. It was like I wasn't even out on the lake. So I don't know how that's going to play, but it's an amazing, amazing electronics. It really is.
They tell me that they just are amazing unit. I've actually not been in a boat that had one on it yet, but I'm excited about that and hoping to get to play around with somebody that's got one this
Great.
spring, because they're unbelievable, and I would like to compare them to the new 360 units that come out.
360, I haven't had a chance to have one. I have a Gen 2, which is not compatible with the 360, but I would like to see that as well. But man, I'm telling you, I'm really excited to get back out and do, once the trophy trips slow down and the crappie picks up, I'm anxious to get out them sticks in the middle of Tawakoni and see what we can pluck out of there.
I'm thinking that those things would be great for finding bait, especially when bait's scattered a little bit. It's hard to find.
Totally,
it'll be awesome for that.
Man, well, that's one of the reasons I got it. And while we were under the bridge crappie fishing, I did the whole line it up and throw the net, and you can watch the net go down. There was a couple of guys putting posts up about that. And any place you throw the net within that degree of angle of the transducer, you're going to see it. And it's just amazing how you can see a ball and you throw it, and it's, it eliminates a lot of looking. So I'm really stoked about using that.
Oh man, well, keep me posted on how it progresses and how you like it and all the stuff, because they're so new, and there's so few people that actually have them.
Right.
And I'm really excited about finding out more about them. You guys, if you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. To be able to win in chat tonight, you will have to be a subscriber. So if you're not subscribed, reach down there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and become a member of Catfish Weekly Group. That helps us out a little bit by getting our stuff put up ahead of some of the other guys. We appreciate everything you do. We got a pretty good group in chat tonight, so we will go on. If you guys have anything that you'd like to ask Keith, be sure to get it in there. That way we can get it answered before the end of the show.
And I'm not actually seeing any comments, so I don't know who's popping in or anything. So just in case, I've told a few people to jump on, and but no big deal. I'll just let you know I can't see them on my end.
I can see them. I've got two computer screens, the monitors going. I can see them on both of them, and some guys are in there talking about about things amongst themselves. I see Jordan Lear Outdoors is in there, and Stephen here, Joe Buck 66, Justin Fishing Fetish, Sean Abney, Smoking Big Flatties, John Patrick III, Maurice Kaysen, Chad Wall. We got a ton of them in there. That's the ones that Alexander Lanham, Mike Greenwell. I can see those on the screen right now, but that changes as the chat rolls through. So we'll be getting more and more and more.
And we're doing a little giveaway later, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna do a couple of them. I got some stuff to give away. And you had mentioned that you've got a product that you want to give away, and it's something that people are really going to want. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. Hey, Kentucky Catfishing, how you doing? John Patrick wants to know if, I already know the answer because you and I talked about it this afternoon, but wants to know if you use mono or braid.
I'm a mono guy. I'm old school. I know braid's great. I'm not going to down on mono, but I use mono. I'm a lot of open water, so I'm not dealing with a lot of structure to rub up against. During the shallow bite, I have used braid, when I'm up in 4 foot of water or something, just to try to muscle them in real quick. But I'm a mono guy. I use a heavier, of course, leader line. I use an 80-pound leader line, and I'm somewhere between 25 and 30-pound mono.
Okay. Old Doc sure would be proud of you. He used to ride me about my braid, but I started using braid when we started bumping on the rivers. And I got to where I figured that the drag on the reel and the action on the rod should do all the work. And that braid is so sensitive, I can't go back. I mean, it's not that I can't use them on it. I just don't want to.
Sure. I understand. Hey, a lot of people love mono.
Yeah.
Braid. A lot of people love the braid.
That's the way Doc is with the mono. He loves it, but he does use it bumping because he just needs sensitivity for it. And it works out really well. Justin Fishing Fetish would like to know what's your favorite rod you use.
I tell you what, man, that's a real easy one, but a real tough one. Of course, I like a heavy rod. there's a lot of good rods out on the market. But man, I hate to say this, but I don't spend a lot of money on rods. I'm not really sponsored by anybody. So I use the ugly sticks. I use the heavy duty ugly sticks, and I have for years. Um, and they work great. I mean, I've got no complaints. If a customer accidentally drops one overboard, I don't have to cry or anything. And
Don't take a bank loan out to replace it.
Don't have to get refinanced or anything. I can just smile and high five them and go on about my business.
That's right.
So that's what I use is mostly ugly sticks.
And that's that's great. There's millions and millions of fish been caught on them thing.
Oh yeah.
Junior Proctor, Blue Dog Fishing would like to know if you prefer to drag or anchor the most.
I prefer to drag. Now, anchoring's great, but I'm a dragger. I prefer to drag. I'll be out there. I'll be the last boat dragging, and everybody's up shallow catching fish. I like catching that big fish out in open water. For one thing, it gives me time to get my camera out and get it on YouTube. But and of course, they don't get hung up. But to answer that, I love to drift fish and use planer boards. And the planer boards I use, I'm sure a lot of people use different planer boards, but I like the spread them boards. Wesley Mann makes some great boards.
Hang on just a second.
Sure.
I got a sneeze coming. I guess it's just not ready. I've heard really good things about his planer boards. I don't have one.
Well, here I've got one right here.
Let's tell us all about that baby.
Yeah, I tell you, it's good. It's a heavy duty board. It's all welded rather. He just does a great job on them. They're really good in heavy winds. And I'm sure there's a lot of boards that are great out there, but he's a great guy. He's got a great little company going on, and that's probably the only people that I really talk about in any of my videos or anything is spread them.
A lot of companies make a lot of great products, whether it be planer boards or hooks or rods or whatever it is. But if you're comfortable with somebody and you guys get along and you like each other and you like what both of you do, that's half the battle in my opinion.
Makes a difference.
It makes a difference. I've had some guys that give us some stuff, and it doesn't matter what it was, but in the end, they turn on you sometimes, and then them products are not near as good as they was before. And if you like somebody and you guys get along, hell, that's half the battle. I mean, that's a home run all the way around.
Hey, we're all in it, not just to catch fish, but to have fun, meet friends, keep it all family oriented, and just have a great time, whether you're catching or nothing.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And you and I talked this afternoon a little bit doing a test, and I told you then, although we have done tons and tons of traveling and go to these big tournaments and get-togethers and this and that, the most fun is when you're either sitting on the tailgate of your truck out in the parking lot before the tournament or before the big event the next day or during a 2-day tournament the night between. That's where the fun's at. I mean, If you work fishing tournaments and events like Cindy and I have for the last many, many years, it's a job. It's work, and you got to work at it. But the fun is sitting out there, enjoying your time you spent. Last big tournament Cindy and I was at, I spent 2 or 3 nights out talking on the tailgate of my truck with Joey Kirby and Stacy Gaston. I would be in the back of my truck or in the back of my boat getting stuff ready, or they would be in the back of their boat getting stuff ready. And I'd be walking my dog and we'd be talking. I'd let the dog do her bit. Those are some of the most fun times that you can have. And again, there's times like that when people make it not as much fun, but for the most of the time, it's some of the greatest times that you can have and fish.
Well, that's very true.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Catfish Headhunters. Yes, I do have a green screen behind me. I sure do. And I can change that. If you don't particularly like that image, I can change it and put something else back there. I try not to do the same one every week, but it's working out really good. Parking lot is where it goes down. That's exactly right. There's a lot of stuff that happen in parking lots. And like I say, if you like alcoholic beverages, there's always some of that. You don't have to partake in that if you don't want to. Nobody cares. Um, it's just a BS session. There's more lies told and stolen in parking lots than any place that I've ever been to. And like I say, it's some of the most fun that you could possibly have, and you meet some great people, and you learn some stuff, and you share information, and we give a lot of stuff away out there, and it's just for good times.
Well, that's great, man. Like I said, I agree. That's where it's at, man. Keeping it all fun and real.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. Let me check something here. So, what kind of a boat are you running down there?
I am in a center console. It's a AquaSport. It's an older AquaSport. It's got newer electronics, and everything's been rewired and whatnot. But it's a deep boat. It's a dry ride, is what I like about it. And I can fit four people in my boat at a time, and I love it. It does good for me. I don't have a boat payment, and that's probably the best part of it, to be honest with you.
I'm thinking that's probably that would be the greatest thing in the world, not having one. Hey, buddy, I've got a package of hooks I'd like to give away. If you pick me out a number between 1 and 5, I've got everybody pulled up out of chat. We'll see if we can give some hooks away.
You want me to pick a number?
Yeah.
Let's go with number 3.
Number 3 it is. 1, 2. Well, come on. And 3. Something, you know how computers are.
Man, yes, I do.
The winner is Kent Williams.
Kent, congratulations, Kent.
Absolutely. Give us send us a message on Facebook, or email us at catfishweekly@gmail.com, and give me your shipping address, and we will fix you up with a package of hooks. We've got a sponsor that has sent us some stuff, and we're trying their stuff out, but we need information on it so they can continue to do this. And they're going to be a new online store, so we're going to check and try to help them determine if the stuff that we're using is where we need to be. So we need to test some of their products out. So be sure to send me your shipping address, and we'll get right back to you. Any questions for Keith? Nothing? Okay, cool.
All right. Make it too easy.
Yeah, I like easy. Don't get easy a lot of the times.
I guess real quick, I could give a little shout out to some folks here at Lake Tawakoni. Trotline Bait and Tackle. Hey, great place. If you need any type of accessories or trotline or baits or tackles, they actually have trot lines. We've got some marinas here that are great. Anchor End, Wind Point. We've got, of course, the Texas State Park, which is awesome. On the 29th, we have the North Texas Catfish Trail coming in, and there's some folks there that sponsor that. There's Dale's Tackle, I think B&M, Rib Masters, Spivey. There you go. And then, of course, Cabela's King Cat Tournament is going to be on March 7th. So I thought I'd throw that in there before I forget or whatnot.
They've been doing that tournament on Tawakoni. Cabela's has for several years now.
They have. Yep, they have.
I know there's a lot of guys from up here. Marty and Roger Gerloff go down there. Who's the other guys live up around Lake the Ozarks? There's a bunch of guys from Missouri that go down there and fish that every year and do very – will you stop? And do very well. So
what's his favorite bait and what rig does he prefer? That's Justin's fishing fetish.
Justin Fishing Fetish says that. What's your favorite bait and what rig do you prefer?
Man, I hate to sound bland, but I like the freshly caught shad. However, I'm not ashamed of using some big buffalo. I use a Sandy Cooper rig. Typically I'm dragging 10-aught hooks. The hooks I'm using, and I've got them right here. And then, there's all this controversy about, do you use a float? Do you use a demon dragon or a dragon shad or whatnot? But I like these. These are the Hooker Terminal Tackle HXDs. Mm-hmm. I've used the backstabbers. They're a 12-aught hook, but these, it's kind of a modified. It's got a little offset on it. It's kind of a kale circle hook, if you would. You still need to set the hook a little bit, not hard. You just want to reel in. Mm-hmm. but also like the dragon shads, and that's what these are. Josh Dismang of Indiana South Catfishing, I think it is. These are a little bit cheaper. And the reason I like this type of thing is they don't break. If you've got a bobber, you're pulling in a 40, 50 pound fish and it's hitting the boat and it breaks the bobber, it's just that much more time and you got to just jacking with it. So that's what I use on my rigs.
I have some of those he sent me. They work wonderful. I've
They
had zero trouble with them.
Yep.
And, I haven't had any trouble with any of them, but I have had some trouble with the foam flows. And
Yes.
I actually like using those because they're easy, but I destroy them.
Yeah.
I just tear them up. So that was one of the things. And I do like to suspend my bait off the bottom a little bit because with the eyes on top of their heads, I've always had the belief that the fish would rather come up to get their bait than go down. Now, if it was Asian carp and eyes on the bottom, I can't determine that. But with their eyes up on the top, I think they would rather go up.
I agree.
After. So that's one of the reasons why I like to keep it in. It doesn't have to be terribly high. Depends on what depth in the water column you find your fish at.
And I stagger mine. I do short leaders, medium, and then long leaders. If I notice one's producing more, I might change it. More than likely, I don't, because it doesn't mean that they're going to hit the same place every time. You know how they are.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Mike Smith says, if anyone is interested in fishing the North Texas Tournament Trail on February 29th at Lake Tawakoni, please contact him. That sounds like some fun down there.
Michael Smith. Yep. North Texas Catfish Trail. That's who you want to talk to about that.
Stephen here wants to know cut bait or live.
Cut bait or live bait for you while you're guiding.
Cut bait.
Yeah.
I can't keep the big ones alive. I don't have the capacity to do that. When I use striper trips, I'm using 3-inch. Let me get my camera. 3-inch shad, thread fin, not gizzard, and I keep several of those alive, and I use a thinner hook, whole different deal. But I don't have the bait tank capacity in my boat to keep the big ones alive, especially for long periods of time. And I know there's a lot of controversy, but if I had my way, I'd have a shad this big, huge shad, and I'd cut them in chunks and use them right then.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you use big chunks year round or just in the summertime?
Well, I mainly use bigger chunks in the winter. I'd stay, December through probably March sometime. Now, having said that, I downsize baits a lot. If it's slow or if I'm getting some tugs and nothing's biting and my customers are wanting some box fish, I'll even downsize to an 8/0 hook, maybe a Gamakatsu or as long as it's offset. I've had to offset them myself sometime, but and I'll use smaller baits. I'm not opposed to using, and I've caught some really big fish on smaller baits, so it's not a given thing. It just really depends. I like to just use a variety of things and see what happens. And it may work great one day, one way, and then another day it may work totally the other way, so, but I do like using smaller baits too.
This sounds like that you do things like Cindy and I do. We'll go out and we'll try to put a whole bunch of different stuff on. And then when they start picking certain things, we start switching everything over to the things that are actually working.
Yeah. Sonia and I do the same thing.
Spud is in here watching. Welcome, Spud. Glad to see you in here tonight. Catfish Stalkers Outdoors with Captain Greg Olala is in here. Jason Lima, Skip Stewart, Timothy McVeigh, Swamp Diver Outdoors, Fin Seeker TV, Mike Greenwell. Glad to see you guys in there. Harley Neal is in the house. Thank you guys for joining the show tonight. I know a lot of people ask you tons and tons of questions. There's Joey Kirby. Jimmy LaRoe. What is the most asked question you get from people wanting to know more about learning how to catfish?
You mean on the boat, when I'm on the boat?
Either way.
As far as catfish goes, probably the same thing we've been talking about. What type of rig? What's the what type of line, or what size line? And the baits. The bait's a big deal, of course. I've went up shallow and caught 50-pound fish on worms. So it's hard to say one bait is better than the other. But I would say bait is always the big deal. That's probably the most asked question if I had to put it in a nutshell.
Well, we've caught fish on year-old froze shad
Yeah.
when
yeah.
nothing else would work, and we'd have it
Yep.
just in case we didn't get any. And that particular day, they'd bite it, for
Of
whatever
course.
reason. But day in and day out, the fresher it is, the better it works. I say that with the exception is we use a lot of frozen skipjack, and some days fresh makes a difference, and other days when they're really hitting it, I don't think it matters.
Right. It doesn't. You're right.
Some
If they're
days
hitting it, it don't matter.
Yeah. But there's days when you're not going to catch anything unless it's brand new fresh bait. And other days, like I say, they're going to want a head. They won't take a body section. Other days, they want a fillet. Some days, all they want is something to eat.
That's right. I like using the heads myself. I've caught some of my bigger fish using the heads.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. I just think that I'm a believer that they take them head first.
Right.
Now I know they don't take all of them that way, because a lot of times they'll inhale and they'll suck a fish from several inches away from them, and however they end up, I guess, is how they end up. But I think for the most part, any bait type other than cut bait, I believe that they're taking them head first.
I tell you, one of my goals is to use the live scope and somehow, I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, but catch a trophy cat, looking at that and sucking it in. I just want to see it on the live scope. I haven't seen any YouTube videos of that. I've seen some smaller cats or whatnot, but just to see if you could line it up and do that and just watch them smack it, that'd be cool. So I'm hoping to maybe do that in the future. We'll see if I'm able to pull that off or not.
I can't wait to see you get that pulled off, because one of my favorite things to watch of people taking pictures and videos and screenshots of images on depth finders is watching a cast net fall over a ball of shad.
Right.
That if they've got a good image of that, it's amazing to watch that come down, and you can see if they get the whole ball, if they're behind it or in front of it. That is a really cool image, and there's several of them on the internet. I've seen a bunch of them, but that is really neat. So if you could get that on there, that would really be cool.
Man, I was talking with a good buddy of mine about that, and we probably have to spend all day just trying to get that footage. But when we get time to do it, maybe we can do that. And what's cool is watching them throw the. I've seen some guys throw the throw net. I've never been able to catch it on side imaging or even down imaging. I'll see it sometimes, but by the time I look and see it on there, I'm nowhere near a camera or anything. So
right. Our good buddy Mike Sampson watches every week. Says his personal best is 80-pound on a skipjack hit. That's a great fish, Mike. Thanks for watching Catfish Weekly.
Nice fish.
Lawrence or Garmin?
What's that?
Is live scope Lawrence?
Lawrence
or Garmin?
It's Garmin, isn't it?
It's Garmin.
Yeah. I don't remember now what Lawrence calls their stuff anymore. I haven't had one in a while now.
But it's True something. I think I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Lawrence. I'm more Hummingbird and Garmin.
Do they have Moon Eye?
Do you have Moon Eye in Texas?
Moon Eye?
Mm-hmm.
We do not.
Do you know Moon Eye? Okay. Now, I knew there'd be a bunch of questions about stuff like that.
Where are they located?
Do what?
Never mind.
Okay. Never mind. Let's see where we're at in here. Christina Richardson must be a friend of yours. She has something about, I've seen something about Trotline Bait and Tackle.
Oh, yeah, she's the owner. Yep, she's the owner of Trotline Bait and Tackle.
Welcome to Catfish Weekly. We're so glad you joined us.
They carry skipjack now.
They carry skipjack.
Oh, did not know that.
You guys don't have skipjack in Texas, do you?
No, you have to order it frozen in if you're going to use skipjack.
It still works, though, don't it? You still catch fish on it.
I tell you, I have used skipjack. I've had customers actually bring their own skipjack aboard, and we did catch fish. I don't know how long they had it in their freezer or whatnot. Some of it was a little mushy, but they wanted to use it, so we put it on, and we did catch a couple of fish on it.
One of the things that I've learned about mushy skipjack is normally if it stays froze, it doesn't get mushy unless it's pretty old. But what happens is it gets frozen and it gets thawed and then it gets froze
Oh yeah.
and then it gets mushy. Now the bigger ones are not so bad about that. My favorites are the ones that are about 8, 10, 12 inches long.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the ones we used were huge. I mean, they were
Yeah,
probably.
and those work fine. I've used a million of them, but I really like just to whack the tail off of them, put a double hook rig in them, and use the whole thing.
Hey, there you
That's
go.
because when we go out, if we're in a tournament, now not so much when we're just fun fishing, but if we're in a tournament, Cindy's job is put all the fish in the boat she can put in the boat, and we'll put her up with normal size cut bait. But I'm using giant baits. I just want one fish. I'm
Right.
only looking for a big one, and if I don't catch one, it's okay. I'll net all hers.
Well, that's kind of me. I want that big fish. I'd rather catch 3 big fish than 50 small fish. You know,
Yep.
I mean, that's just me. And I try to tell my customers that unless they want to go for box fish, that's typically what we're fishing for.
Yep. And we don't keep very many fish, and it's not that we shouldn't and couldn't. I don't like to clean them. I just don't like to clean them. So we just don't keep them. But now this year we're going to make an exception, and we're going to keep 2 or 3 when we go out once in a while if they're small. But I just won't keep anything of any size. Just one thing, I don't want to wrestle them around while you do it. And second, I just can't kill a big fish, because I want to share that with a kid down the road, maybe.
Well, I tell you, I am huge on CPR. That is a big thing for me. It's one of the reasons in my personal boat, I don't have really good live wells. And I know there's a lot of people say it doesn't matter. You can get a big bucket and put a lid on it and put 5 big fish in it and drive it around and 20-mile-per-hour winds beating them to death and they'll still live. And that's true. Catfish, they do live through that. But, I am so big at catching them, take the photo, and then send the fish back. And our fishery is good here at Lake Tawakoni. There's a lot of good guys on Tawakoni that do catch and release. I'm not fond of jug lines and trot lines. Now, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but
I understand.
a lot of people out here don't tend to them. They'll put them out, and for whatever reason, they don't come back. And I can't tell you how many times we've run into jug lines and you can tell there's moss growing underneath it. You pull it up and there's a dead fish or 2 on it. And it's just sad, I mean, and catfish are very hardy and they thrive, but I'd rather keep them for the kids to come and the generations down the road to be able to catch these beautiful fish.
I agree 100%. And I'm one of the guys that when I was younger, we used to go out and set lines and stuff.
Me too.
I outgrew that because I figured out that and even back then, I didn't like to keep the big fish. It's not that we did it once in a while. I just didn't like to do it because like I say, I don't like to clean them, period.
Well, them real big fish are like cleaning a pig on several occasions. Or on few occasions, I should say, I've had to clean big fish, and I mean it's some time. If you don't drain them and do them right, they're not very tasty.
That's exactly right, and they don't taste as good as the smaller ones.
No.
And the smaller ones, I can just whip them out in a few minutes, and I'm done. And then big ones, you spend all the time. By the time I get done with it, it ain't worth the effort, So I just don't want to do it. Now, with that being said, if we deep hook one or it's profusely bleeding or something, I'm not going to waste the fish.
Sure, of course.
And if I don't want to do it, I will find somebody that will take the fish if I don't want to clean it. But that happens very rarely. Now with the technology of the new hooks and all the stuff we got, we don't have those issues nearly as much as we did years ago.
And as long as people burp them, the big blues out in deep water, we're good to go.
Yep, we just don't have too much of that anymore. And some days you get it and some days you don't, but very, very few of it. Now, I will say jug line fishing is one of the best ways to get young kids interested in fishing.
Sure.
And when you're doing that, if you get big fish or more fish than you want to do, it doesn't mean you have to stop because them kids are probably having a blast. Just turn them loose.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to do it. That's one of the best ways that I know of, and we don't do it. I'm not saying we do it because we don't do it. I don't have any of the stuff to do it with. But I know people take kids out, especially like Boy Scout clubs and stuff like that they'll take them kids out. And if they don't want to clean them, they just catch them and turn them loose. And that's fine.
Just finding the jug's fun for them,
Oh, watching them and chasing them down and the kids get excited. Whatever it takes to get these guys involved in these sports is so much better than some of the other stuff they do. Playing computer games, and I've watched some of these kids' cartoons on TV, and man, I would have never let my kids watch that stuff.
Right.
Yep. So
tackle boxes, not Xboxes.
That's exactly right.
Everybody says that, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a great thing to do. Chasing jugs are a blast, even at 40 years old. You're right. They are. They're a ton of fun.
They are fun.
I'm thinking, I don't have a desire for a canoe. I don't have a desire for a kayak or nothing like that. I'm too old for that stuff. But if I was in one of them, you talk about something to chase a jug down with.
Woo.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Set you out 10 of them things.
Yeah.
And just sit back there and drink you a pop or whatever, and just start, when they go down, just start chat. That what sounds to me like as much fun as you could probably have in one of them.
That's true. Very true. I agree.
Greg Alala, I have not seen an update on Ryan Newman. I hope if somebody does see that they will post that. That was a pretty bad wreck, and I am concerned about him as you are, and hopefully he'll be all right. All right. You know what? We got another package of hook Mike Irvin's wanting us to spin. Let's just give that other package away. Let me get everybody picked up here.
Awesome. Let's do a little giveaway.
Heck yeah. Keep people interested. It's kind of like keeping the kids in on the on fishing.
Right.
Do you take a lot of kids out on trips with the
Man, I do, and I love taking kids fishing. They're so fun. As long as you're catching fish. Now, trophy trips, if it's slow, they get a little, impatient, but going out on striper hybrid or even eater catfish, using punch baits, kids love doing punch bait fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just I'm busier. I work harder on those punch bait trips with kids than I do on trophy trips half the time.
Oh, I'm sure you do, yeah.
I mean, it's just baiting, left and right, boom, ripping lips, taking them. And I tell you, and handling those little cats, I'd rather lay down next to a 50-pound blue cat and jack with them 12, even sometimes the ones you got to throw back, they're just, you know how they are. They'll poke the crap out of you.
They'll hurt you and they'll make you like it, and that punch bait reminds me of the story I told you this afternoon when we was testing things out.
That's a good story.
My buddy Keith and I was fishing, and we ended up in a tournament, and he couldn't put a fish in the boat, and we got some Danny King's punch bait out and went behind an island and some rocks, and we caught us a bunch of fish and finished in the top 20 in a big tournament up north Missouri.
That's great.
15 or 20 years ago. And after that, every time we get in the boat, he would be turned one way, and I'd open up a can of that stink bait and I'd set it right behind him or underneath the seat in the boat. And I'd do him that way every time for a long time. I'd do him that way. And I mean, I just laugh, and he's trying to figure out what the smell was. Of course, you can imagine two guys in a boat, the conversation went on, but it was a lot of fun. And I had forgot about that until Keith was in a tournament fishing on Lake of the Ozarks and called me the other day, but he was struggling to find fish. And I said, man, you're in the wrong spot. But anyhow, I hope he done good, and I hope he had a great time. He's a dear friend of mine. Keith, put you out another number between 1 and 5.
Let's go with 2.
2, 1, 2. And the winner this time is Michael Pence, Pence.
All right, Michael Pence.
I don't have no paper. So.
You don't have no paper. Oh, okay.
Or pen. Pen would work.
All right. Michael, if you give me a shout after the show, either email us at catfishweeklytv@gmail.com or message us on Facebook, and we will get those right out to you. Don't forget, folks, to hang around. We're going to do another giveaway here in just a few minutes.
It's going to be a big drift sock, maybe. Oh, I didn't know if I was supposed
you never know. And that'd be great. Somebody's going to like it, I promise you. It's going to be a nice gift. Keith was nice enough to donate us a drift sock for tonight. We're going to have a good time with this. And you must be in chat to win, and you must be a subscriber, because if you are not a subscriber, you cannot be in chat. So that's a very nice one. Like I say, we've got 2 of those Cabela drift socks. I like them. I bought them from Jim and Sheila down in Owensboro, Kentucky a few years ago. We actually was at the Catfish conference, and I was supposed to get them from him down there, and they sold them. we was doing interviews and stuff, and they sold them and run out of them. And when they got back, I had already paid for them, and we just had them shipped them to us. So that worked out really good. There's Carl Wells is in there.
A while back, someone asked.
Just so everyone knows, I can't see who's on the chat, so I have no idea. Just because I had invited a bunch of people, if I'm not saying anything, I don't see you on there.
Well, there's a bunch of new ones in here that I'm not used to seeing. There's Wicca Fields and Smoking Big Flatties. Lisa and Terry Haraway both in here. Joe Mule, Muhle, Sean Abney, Mike Irvin, Kyle Rutt, Richard Shook, Stephen Hare, Sonny Parker, my buddy, Sean Davidson, Mike Smith.
Mike Smith.
We will not be at the Catfish Conference this year. This will be Cindy's has some family issues with health issues. We'll put it like that. And we're not gonna. This will be the first one that we've ever missed. So yeah, it's but you know, family first. It's like being in a boat. Safety first. When your home is family first. So that's
all right.
Jonathan Watts, Muskrat Adventures. There's a lot of people in here. Sean Davidson, ATV Wild Bill. I'm trying to get everybody. Leroy Honeycutt, St. Louis, reporting for duty. Thank you, sir. Glenn's Catfishing Adventures. Seen some videos. They're pretty good. Keith Smart. He says he needs a drift sock. Keith,
we got one. We've got one.
He's a great guy. Watches our show almost every Monday night. Keith, Kostrab. I'm not going to attempt it. Sometimes I'm better off just to spell them because I butcher them so bad. I don't want to make people mad. So
you and me both, Lyle. You and me both.
What's the best time of the year for people to book a trip with you, Keith?
Let me tell you, the best time is when you're off work. That's the best time. Whenever you're off work, give me a call. We'll go messing with the fish. Hey, I threw it in there. It's been. You're lucky I hadn't thrown it in there yet. You know,
with the fish is a really cool deal you got going. I'm really liking that. I liked it when I first seen it. I seen a question.
No, it just depends. If you've got kids, you know, and you want to go out and put some constant action in the boat, I'd say coming up in the next month or two, we're going to do of course, white bass will come out of the creeks when they do their thing. And then the hybrids and stripers are a lot of fun. Catfishing, you know, like I mentioned earlier with the punch baits, still tons of fun. If you're wanting to trophy cats, it's going to be December through March. You know, that's just how that rolls. You can ask any guide. Having said that, I've caught big fish in August, 104 degrees outside. Wow. So you can't. It's not that you can't catch them, but they're just more prevalent in the colder months. So It just really depends on your schedule. Any you know, whatever works. And if I'm booked, I can usually find someone for you. There's a lot of good reputable guides out here. So there's a lot of good fishing that goes on out here at Lake Tawakoni.
That's awesome. Daniel, I'm going to tell you this. You want to know what my personal best is? They vary depending on whether it's a blue flathead or channel cat. My favorite personal best is the channel cat that I caught in Wisconsin 12 years ago. Hadn't been that long. 10, 12 years ago. I caught a 29.9 channel cat up there. Whoa. That's my favorite personal best of all. It was a great fish. We caught it in 2 foot of water. And that is a fish of a lifetime for me.
It's a big channel.
My personal best in blues and flatheads are big. They're not in comparison as big as that was, because most of the channel cats I catch are 5, 6, 7 pounds or less. And I love them just as much as I do anything else. But Cindy and I was fishing up there and together, and I caught that. It was the biggest channel cat that I've ever seen or ever caught or ever been around, and I won't forget it. I don't think she will. And we had a blast up there for those 3 or 4 days that we was up there. And to me, that is a trophy that I don't imagine I will ever replace. You know, I just don't see ever catching anything reasonably close to that in the channel cat territory.
Well, not many people have caught a channel cat that big.
No. Like I say, Cindy caught 4 up there over 20 pounds in 30 minutes. That's a great fishery. So
Incredible.
yeah, it is. And we was up there 3 or 4 days and we didn't catch any under 12 or 14 pounds.
Wow.
They was all up in there getting ready to spawn, and they was in that shallow water, and they was on fire.
That's great.
That's at Minn Kota Lake and Cherokee Lake in Wisconsin. If you get a chance to go up there and fish that, promise you it is worth the trip. I would like to fish the Red River north in Canada. I fished it in the United States, and we had a blast doing that. But the Wisconsin time was by far the biggest and most fun of any channel cat fishery. And pound for pound, it's hard to say that there's anything that fights any harder than those big channels.
Awesome.
They're just amazing. And I wished everybody had them, but everybody don't. So it is what it is.
Sure.
What?
I thought way back, someone asked him if he used, are they called green pickles? The bass.
Oh, somebody wants to know if you use ditch pickles for bait.
Only Mississippi yellow-toed frogs. That's the only. That's not a pickle, but it's hard. They're hard to come by. If you can find a mess of those, hey, you guaranteed a cat. I've never fished with pickles. To answer your question, no. If that's what you're talking about.
Well, talking about them green carp.
Oh yeah. I'll use carp once in a while.
Okay.
Are bass legal for you in Texas? No. Yeah, they're not legal in Missouri. And I know a lot of guys. James Smith does a show. Patriot James does a show every Wednesday night. He's out in North Carolina, and he caught a giant blue the other day on cut bass. It's illegal for them to use bass and crappie.
That's so strange to me.
Yeah, it is for me.
It's weird.
I'm like, talking about that, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't imagine
if there's any bass guys on here, they're going to be freaking out, man.
What? But if you catch it legally, like rod and reel.
Oh, you can't throw a net and catch it.
You can't throw a net and catch them, but you can catch them on a rod and reel and cut them up and use them for cut bait. And that's what he done. He couldn't get. They used a lot of white perch, and he couldn't get bait that day. But he caught a bass. He cut it up and he caught a giant on it. And for all of you guys that know Patriot James and follow him on Wednesday nights. His wife has had a death in her family. This is the 4th one between the two of them this year. Please keep James and his wife in your thoughts and prayers. They have enough bad stuff going on. I'm quite sure that they would appreciate it. James is a really good friend of mine. He does a good job. So if you're not doing anything on Wednesday nights, be sure to tune in on YouTube for Patriot James Catfishing Talk Show. He's a great guy, and they have a lot of fun doing stuff.
What's his personal best?
What's your personal best fish down there at Tawakoni?
For my boat or for me?
Yeah, both.
My boat's 82 pounds. For me, my personal best on rod and reel, I actually caught this last December was a 78-pound blue cat. Wow. I happen to be by myself in the boat. I'm hardly ever by myself in the boat. Even if I'm just out scouting, there's some old timers around that I call and they go out with me and help me out or just have fun hanging out with them. And I knew when I went by myself, I thought something big's going to happen. And sure enough, man, I even have a holder for a cell phone that's in my boat. It's been broke for a year or so. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to fix it. And thank the Lord I did because I needed it. And I mean, I actually got it on video. It's on my YouTube page and my Facebook, but I was able to catch it and hold the phone and net it and everything at once. And I was actually on NBC5 with Brian James. He's a meteorologist down here at Lake Tawakoni in the Dallas area. And so that's my personal best. And we turned around and took Brian James, though, I guess about a month later, and hammered a bunch of big blues with him, too. So that worked out pretty good. It was kind of interesting hounding the meteorologist that I'm always complaining about the weather to. I actually had one in my boat. It was like, so is it going to be good or bad today? You know, it was fun. But, yeah, to answer your question, 78 pounds is my personal best on rod and reel.
That's a great fish.
It was fun.
There was a question. Mike Greenwell said that they helped a guy weigh a 58-pound blue cat yesterday. That was a beast. Mike, if that was on the Ohio River, that's a great fish in your area down there. 58 pounds, a giant.
What's
big fish.
Name?
Oh, tell us about what your YouTube page name is and how people can find you on Facebook.
Facebook, it's just Facebook/messing with the fish. There's no G. I'm in Texas, so a southern thing, so no G. And as far as YouTube goes, if you put in Lake Tawakoni fishing guides, messing with the fish, it'll pull that up. Now I have to tell you that I haven't been. I've just in the last 5 months started working on my YouTube page. We've got some cool videos. I've been dabbling in the editing software stuff and trying to put some there's a cool singer named Town Walsh that's a Texas guy, and he's got some cool CDs, and I was really blessed to have him let me use his music. And but that's how you find me. If you put in messing with the fish or Keith Parks in Google Tawakoni, you'll find everything that I've got out there.
That's awesome. Mike Smith would like to know if you have caught any of the tagged bluefish cats on Tawakoni yet.
Is it Michael Smith or Mike Smith?
It says Mike Smith.
Mike Smith. I have not. Sometimes, I think to myself, maybe I didn't pay close enough attention if there's a lot going on. Oh, it's Michael Smith. No, but he does do a lot of tagging out here, and there's a lot of them that do some tagging. I personally don't do it, not for any reason, and I can't think of the name of them. It's a Texas. Anyway, I can't think of the name of it. But no, I haven't caught any. If I ever did, I would definitely look up the number and contact them and then release the fish as is.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. In Missouri, you're not allowed to do it, and they're never going to let anybody do it other than the State Department. Nobody else is allowed to tag fish.
I can almost agree with that. Almost. I haven't caught one and seen a big infection around one or anything yet. So, I've recently seen a guy caught a fish and they used a zip tie. I can't remember who it was that I seen a post of, and I don't know why they do a zip tie around the dorsal fin of a catfish. I guess just to see if the chances are 1 in a million you're going to catch that same fish with a zip tie.
I wonder if that's their way of culling them out of a live box.
Could be.
I can't think of why else you
could have been. I to this day don't know.
But the Texas Trophy Catfishing Association, I have actually reached out to some of those people to get them on our show, and I know that they're expanding into different states, and there's things that's going on right now that I do not agree with. I do agree with what they're doing. The problem with it is those places, and I want to get some of them guys on our show. The thing about that is they got to make sure it's legal in every state. Like I say, if somebody in Missouri, because I begged, even just to get to go with them when they do it, and they won't even allow that. And wow. I do a lot of stuff for the state.
Sure.
I do a lot of stuff for the State Department, but they're not going to allow it, and a lot of states do not. But I think if the opportunity missed from finding out information, and the reason I say that is they've been banning waterfowl for years and years and years, and the information that comes off of them is unbelievable, because I have shot ducks and geese that was tagged 20 and 30 years before I killed them. That's a lot of trips from Canada and up north back from Missouri, and I'm catching them in the midway of their stride. Now I don't hunt waterfowl anymore, but I think that it's a missed opportunity for these state departments in different places, because if done correctly, the amount of information, the amount of information you gain is tenfold. And one of the reasons I say that is the Missouri Department of Conservation has record of a fish that was tagged between Chillicothe, Missouri, and Kansas City on the Missouri River, which is 2/3 of the way across the state to the west. And 3 years later, that fish was caught below Memphis, Tennessee, on the Mississippi River. And it's not that blues don't travel that much, because we all know they travel a lot. My question has always been, well, it made that trip once. Right. How many times did it actually do that? Did it do it twice? Did it do it yearly? Did it do it twice a year? Or did it just go down there and decide, well, this is where I want to live and stay there?
That's a good question.
That's where it was caught, and that's recorded. So I think that I think it's a missed opportunity, and I wish that the Missouri and some of the other states would take another look at that. And I do agree they should be selective on who gets to do it. Not everybody should be allowed to do it. I got that, but I think that there's a world of opportunity that could be gained from that, especially on these big river systems where these blues travel so much. It's one thing in a lake or in a place where they're contained, but on the Mississippi, Missouri, the Ohio, all these. I've been watching a lot of the History Channel, and they said that the Mississippi watershed covers 48% of the United States. Water at some point gets into the Mississippi. 48%.
That's amazing.
Look at all of the information you could get if you tagged fish that's in that river system. Lots and lots and lots. So I see no reason for that not to be there. I think that they should do a lot more of it, and I hope that they'll all step up and take another look at some of that.
Sure, it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting add-on to the catfishing experience.
It is, and I know that some of the guys that's been doing it down your way have been gaining a lot of information on that, and I know that they pass that on to the state departments down there and different people, and hopefully they will get a lot of that information done. Sonny says there's a bunch of tagged fish in the Missouri River. Yes, there is. Some of them even have bounty money on them. And I guess that's one way to entice people to turn them in so they can get that information. I'm not 100% sure I agree with that, but I'm not saying it's bad either. You know, whatever works.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, Lyle.
So. All right. Why don't you tell us again how they can get a hold of you on Facebook and on YouTube?
Sure, you bet. If you it's just messing with the fish, or you can look up Guide Keith Parks, Lake Tawakoni. It'll pull all my stuff up. It's that easy. It's just messing with the fish. No spaces, just messing with the fish. It'll pull everything up, and it's got my phone number and everything. I'm booked pretty well on the weekends, but I do have some during the week trips available, and looking forward to doing some scaly fish fishing too. I know this is all about the catfish, but we also do the scaly fish trips. I do as well.
Now, when you talk about it, are you talking about crappie, walleye, bass?
No, striper, hybrid, white bass. The crappie, I don't know. I'm going to see how this works out with the, if I can produce constant crappie on every trip, I'll open some crappie trips up.
So now the stripers, you guys have giant stripers down there, right?
We have decent sized striper, mostly hybrid bass. We catch mostly hybrids, what we got. I can tell you 20 years ago, we used to catch 15 pounders regularly. Now, if you catch a 12 or 10, that's a big fish for here. Most of them are probably a 3-4-year-old fish that we catch, but they're a lot of fun. Even the smaller ones are a lot of fun. Kids love catching them. I mean, you get on a group of hybrids, and even if you got to throw them back, if they have to be 18 inches here to keep, and you're only allowed 5, any combination of either striper and hybrid. And yeah, they're just a lot of fun. It's just constant action. It's just boom, 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 And I'm big about, once you get your limit on hybrids, you probably, or striper, instead of gut hooking them or whatever, you should probably go and start fishing for something else.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're fishing for catfish or stripers or crappie. There's no sense in exalting all of the giants out of any breed.
I see fish floating all the time where, and they're big keeper size fish and they're still alive. I see that all the time. And it's just from people limiting out. And I guess their customers are like, I paid, I want to keep fishing, but really they should switch over to something else. And, the white bass are mixed in with them. They're all mixed in out here for the most part. Not always, there's of course schools of hybrids and they're separated, but a lot of times they run together, but yeah, that's one big thing I give a shout out to, is just switch it up. Go catch some catfish or something once you limit.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Now, I know that you do a lot of catching of catfish, and you catch a lot of big catfish, and most of the time you're fishing for blues. Are there Are there many flatheads? And we got a lot of guys that talk to us that are flathead guys. Do you have a lot of flatheads on Tawakoni?
There's a lot of flatheads. I personally don't fish for flatheads often. It's been years since I have, and the ones that I did catch a long time ago wasn't by rod and reel. But there are. When we're fishing out in the open water up shallow, I don't see a whole lot of flatheads being caught out here. Probably more noodled than caught on rod and reel, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
Where's the best place to put in Tawakoni?
Where's the best place to put in on Tawakoni?
By the 2 Mile Bridge, there's a new boat ramp on the west side. It's actually got a floating pier. That's a great place. You can also go to the east side. It's a little smaller and no pier. So I would say the west side of the 2 Mile Bridge is the best place. Also over by 751. I don't know. I haven't used the boat ramp in a while, but last time I did was with Michael Smith, and we went over there catching bait, and there was a big hole in the boat ramp. Of course, a lot of people still launch there without any problem. And now that the lake's so full, it probably doesn't matter where you launch. But I would say the west side of the 2 Mile Bridge.
By the 2 Mile Bridge, okay. All right. What is the lake record for blues?
87.5.
87.5. That's a great fish.
Big fish.
Big fish. 87.5. That's a big fish anywhere.
They're out there. There's some big fish out there. Every year, I think it's going to be caught. Every year, I think one of the guides are going to hang into one, and it's going to be 92 point something or 94 or even bigger. They're out there. I know they're out there, and that's what keeps me going back trophy fishing. I love trophy catfishing. Don't get me wrong. I love to catch the scaly fish, but, man, my heart lies in these trophy catfish, and I'm very blessed to be living in a reservoir in Texas that produces some of the bigger catfish around my area anyway.
The consensus with the people that I know that fish Tawakoni a lot, that there is a 100-pound fish in there, just nobody's got one in the boat. Do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. And, you got to have your tackle up to par, and you need to have a huge net, because there's a difference between a 70-pound fish and a 100-pound. Of course, 30 pounds difference, but it's a monster. It's a beast.
That's exactly right. Now, for those of you that's not got in the chat and are not signed up as a member or a subscriber to Catfish Weekly, we're going to give you just a minute, and then we're going to pull the names out of chat, and we're going to give away this drift sock. So
let's do it. Let's do it.
Carl Wells wants to know what you think about making catfish a game fish in Texas.
I don't.
It is a game fish. It's a game fish.
It is in Missouri. One of the things that I tell people all the time, and they don't understand, in my state of Missouri, catfish are not only a game fish; they are the number one fish for in our state. And that's not BS. You can look it up. It's just a fact. So one of the things that I tell people when they go to try to get regulations, and I get these questions all the time, until they are have game fish status, you're not going to get regulations. You're just not going to get to. Palmetto Cast, thank you so much. I want a drift sock. I can hear you, dude.
Who got it?
But he just donated $1.99 to us, and he wants a drift sock. I got it, but that chances of you buying it for $1.99 is slim to done and Slim's out of town.
Did we turn it into a raffle?
No. Pick me out a number, Michael. All right. Pick me out a number between 1 and 5.
Let's go with 5.
5 it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the winner is Jason LAMM.
Woo! Congratulations, Jason.
Congratulations, Jason. Be sure to send me your shipping information, messenger at Catfish Weekly.
Hope you don't live in China or Japan or nothing.
Yeah,
More in shipping.
Texas would be very handy, wouldn't it?
I'm just kidding.
It's not that bad, you know. And I was talking about shipping earlier, but
We were.
actually, the post office for me, they're the only game in town. I don't have anything else. It's nearly 40 miles. If I want any other kind of shipping service besides the post office, and they really do me a good job. I just I'm not driving 40 miles to ship
Illinois.
stuff. I'm just lives in Illinois. Awesome.
Illinois.
Sweet. Now that tell them how they can get a hold of you. There's no sense of going through me. You guys can get that right down there, and you can ship it right out from where you're at.
You can email me at guidekeithparks@gmail.com, or you can contact me through Facebook at Messing with the Fish. If you put in Messing with the Fish in Google, there's 1,000 ways to get a hold of me, and I'll get it out immediately to you.
Awesome.
No worries there.
Sounds like a good deal. Anything else you want to go over tonight, Keith?
Man, I've had a great time with you, Lyle. I appreciate you having me on the show. Really do.
I think it was a blast. We had a lot of fun tonight, and we need to do this again.
We will.
So if there's anybody that you need to thank or anything, now's a great time to do it.
Hey, man, I thank the good Lord for letting me wake up every day, and I thank the state of Texas for keeping these fish in the lakes, and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Departments for what they do, as well as anybody that has anything to do with catfishing and that does good to the sport. And that's about all, man. If you're not fishing, you're not catching.
That's exactly right. Keith, thank you so much. We'll see everybody next Monday night on Catfish Weekly. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, everybody.